Ahead of the 2024 election, researchers from the NYU Cybersecurity for Democracy project have created a working group of experts to determine what social media platforms can do
to ensure that their products don't contribute to the potential for political violence.
Certainly political leaders and the rhetoric that they espouse are primarily responsible for the problems that we face in this country. But the reality is that platforms get a say in how those claims spread, how they're propagated, and how individuals who respond to those claims are moderated or not. And that has an effect on overall outcomes.
The group published a report with 7 actions companies could take.
These 7 recommendations, we came to them as a consensus from a multidisciplinary group. And they are both things that this entire group agrees should be done, but also things that we know technically can be done if the companies really wanted to take this seriously enough.
The recommendations complement a set of suggestions from NYU Stern Center for Business and Human Rights. Their analysis also suggests that despite media attention on the potential for AI to cause disruption, the more traditional or human methods of sharing false, hateful, and violent content on social media remain the bigger threat to more than 50 national elections around the world. If you've been paying attention to the news over the last few election cycles, it may seem like the U.S. is irreconcilably divided over politics. Reporters have even observed differences in the way we purchase breakfast cereals and sneakers. But NYU sociologist Delia Baldessari, who has studied political polarization for years, notes that pundits tend to exaggerate this.
So let me give you an example of this. The New York Times a few years ago ran this study in which they took pictures of refrigerators. Then they showed the content of these refrigerators to thousands of people. They asked them to classify these refrigerators according to the politics of their owners. What comes out of the study is that actually people can't tell whether one is a Republican or a Democrat, but the way they publicize it is by showing you the few items that indeed are typical of Democrats or Republicans.
Lately, Baldessari has turned her attention to party misfits.
The people who do not easily identify with either the Democratic or Republican Party.
In fact, she says, the beliefs that are typical of Republicans and Democrats are held in a consistent and coherent way by only a limited part of the population.
Every household in the US is more than a yard sign or a bumper sticker. So letting our neighbors come in and getting to know them before displaying our political views is probably a better strategy in order to create an environment in which everybody is seen and heard, and in which we can actually appreciate like similarities and differences in a more deeper way. What distinguishes democracies from authoritarian regimes, one of the things, is that politics doesn't permeate everyday life. We shouldn't allow it to do so.
Political science literature shows that a president running for re-election has what's called a one-term advantage, meaning if you are the president, people are more likely to vote for you. But history also shows that consecutive-term presidents put their party at a disadvantage.
And so the key question of the study is, if incumbency has this inherent effect, regardless of whatever campaign advantages might come to it, name recognition advantages, status quo bias, setting aside all of that, if it's truly something inherent, what I should find is the one-term incumbent should be able to get more votes. And what I found was pretty remarkable, about a 5.5 percentage point advantage. Whether it's a Democratic incumbent or Republican incumbent, there's an incumbency advantage. Importantly, that same experiment is showing that the two-term incumbent, they are just not advantaged.
How this will play out in November, where the incumbent president stepped aside in favor of the vice president of the same party, who's running against another former one-term president who's not the immediate incumbent.
Ultimately, it's anyone's guess.
For more on these stories and all the latest NYU research, visit nyu.edu/news. I'm Jade McLean, and I want you to continue to tune in for more episodes of Brainiacs.